there are these 3 vehicles, and we need to establish like where you are, where all of you are. There's the solid wagon. There has to be, like, it is drawn by one of your henchmen, Vigo Brastech, who is like a he's a ghost hunter, and he always eyed brother. I will have to learn to pronounce your name. Brother Methuselah. Methuselah. He always eyed you with a lot of suspicion. He's like a pale young man, very thin, with chains around his body, and these big dark eyes. And he's driving the solid wagon. Is somebody on the wagon? Then there's the porcelain walker, and then there's the porcelain walker is like an ATST, but made from porcelain. It has some kind of cupola. And then there's obviously the source fac Johnny 7, this gigantic machine that is slowly driving over this very hilly, mountainous road. So let's start with Azure D. Where would you be?
I'd probably be with Saffron, just kind of discussing the game plan of what's happening. Like when we get Johnny 7 to what's it called, Burnt Umber or something like that.
Fallen Umber.
Fallen Umber, yeah. So I guess, I mean, we've been working pretty closely on keeping Johnny 7 online, and so I think just making plans about that.
Yeah, I was figuring that we probably were spending most of the trip inside Johnny 7.
Yeah, I thought as well.
Partially, we get free, weird, mechanical penguin delivered eggs to food. And partially just because we're trying to keep an eye on.
Yeah, make sure everything's going fine.
The core.
Be expected.
Yeah, and it's that Johnny 7 is really likes both of you. It often will hum the song that Azure D taught him. And so it definitely makes sense that the 2 of you are in the command center. And Brother Methuselah, where would you be?
He's probably walking along with the, train. In his robe, sweeping along the ground.
Mm-hmm. And so I imagine that probably the wagon is first, the porcelain walker is second, and then the big machine is trailing behind. Where would you be in respect to these 3 things?
Probably along the side of the big machine somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's like sitting on a little outcropping of it as it trundles along.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so to set the scene a little bit, you have been traveling for some time uphill, so higher and higher into the mountains. It is the 6th month, which means that on the steppe it's super hot, but now you're in the high steppe, so temperatures are actually during the day pretty mild and can be pretty darn cold during the night. And so you're surrounded by hills. To the west, the hills are shaded by cedars, and to the east, where the hills are a little bit more gentle, there is where Brother Methuselah, you can see these 4 creatures running down this gentle slope. And you can see that they are skin changers because they're flickering through different animal shapes. But my question for Brother Methuselah is, how can you see that they are possessed by an Ultra?
I think Brother Methuselah probably sees some kind of aura around them. You know, like they leave behind like the trail of an Ultra.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And is it that aura? Is it like a blue glow, or how do I have to visualize it?
Yeah, I think it is like a faint blur around them.
Mm-hmm. And can you describe how? So Brother Methuselah sits on some kind of tube outcropping of this gigantic machine that is, whizzing and crawling forward. How does Brother Methuselah look like?
Brother Methuselah is a older human. He is in, he's in these like ceremonial robes, which are very, beige and like sackcloth. He has a shaved head and a shaved face. And you can see him like constantly fidgeting with a little like notebook, adding up and subtracting numbers. Some sort of numerology thing that is known only to him.
Mm-hmm. And he's part of the Jeremiah order. Do they have like a symbol? Do you have a symbol of the order somewhere on your body or on the robes?
I think he has a quill pen dangling on from like a chain.
Cool.
The Jeremians are record keepers, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you do hear from the first, like you see these flickering creatures running wild down the hill, and you hear a Vigo who's steering the cart, and he's with a croaking voice. He says, "They're coming." And I think we switch a little bit to inside of Johnny 7. And so when Johnny 7 starts speaking and he says, "My friends, I experienced some troubles." Where do we see Azure D? Where are you at the moment inside of this control room, and what do you do?
Sitting by like the brain console area, just keeping an eye on the machinery, making sure that it looks like it's running smoothly. So I'm like in the main brain room or whatever.
Yeah, it's this control room with like 70s styles computers, and it is covered with this brain tissue that has strands of brain tissue connecting every part of the mainframe. And can you describe how Azure D looks like?
Azure is she's like a tall, slim woman. She wears I forget the name of the armor, but it's very stylized. She has this giant kind of like teardrop shaped plastic clear mask over her face. It doesn't hide anything. It's just clear. and she's dressed sort of like a '60s stewardess. A lot of like bright blue vinyl. She has this sort of like scarf around her neck made of vinyl that's got like this kind of circle at the end that she hangs on to, just as a rule of thumb. And like kind of blue fairy boots in the same blue vinyl.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a biomechanical salamander. And
Yes, that's right.
How does that look like?
It's like a combination of like bone, muscle, and wires. It's in the shape of a salamander. You can tell it was alive at one point, like a regular lizard at some point, but it got transformed into this odd creature, and its tail has like a sort of like a whatever this universe's version of a USB plug.
Yeah,
that's how it can jack into machinery.
Cool. And next to Azure D is somewhere in the room at least is Saffron. Chris, can you what is Saffron doing and how do they look like?
I like the idea that we're taking shifts, Azure and I, just because it's a long trip and we kind of don't want to not have eyes on Johnny. And so I think Saffron right now is kind of off in a corner, meditating. So kind of like sitting on the ground, on the floor, and eyes are closed and their face is just kind of completely flat. It's like even more featureless than normal when their eyes are closed. And so Saffron is this machine human, and in particular, like they're covered in this kind of silicone skin covering, and their face is very featureless. And normally, if like when we go into town, Saffron will paint on like eyebrows and define like nose and lips more using these face paints. But right now, when Saffron is kind of meditating in this resting state, it's just like you just see like the hood over the head and these like dark brown gray robes, and it just kind of looks like this featureless humanoid.
And I do remember that we have, you're communicating with a gigantic machine.
Mm-hmm.
There's no advantage of being, human-like. It has more advantage to be machine-like. And I do remember that last time you even exposed your positonic brain to connect with Johnny 7.
Yeah, so like underneath if I pull, if I take off my hood and I expose things, and there's like seams kind of in the back of my neck in the skin, and I can actually like peel the silicone skin away to expose the mechanical underpinnings.
So do you think that Johnny 7's voice pierces through your meditation? Do you hear, I'm experiencing troubles outside? Or would you be so centered into your meditation?
I mean, I think Johnny 7 rambles often enough that just the fact that he is saying something is not enough on its own to get me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea that it's not just me just like sitting there and considering every thought that comes through like meditation. It's actually more like a rest state.
Mm-hmm. Almost standby-ish.
Yeah.
So, what is Azure D doing?
Azure's just, she's monitoring things. What did Johnny 7 say?
He says, I'm sensing troubles outside.
What sort of troubles, Johnny?
Some things are attacking the wagon.
Oh God. Okay. I run over and I is Saffron? Are you in the same room? Okay, I run over and I kind of shake Saffron up and says, "The wagon's being attacked." Johnny says the wagon's being attacked. We should probably, we should probably help out defending them.
Shit. Yeah. Johnny 7, you'll be okay if we go figure out what the hell's happening outside?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, we should like shake my head and be like snap myself awake. I'm like, yeah, let's grab our stuff and get out there.
So it will take some time because you need to climb through a couple of shafts and down the hand elevator and through another tunnel. So I think Brother Methuselah and Vigo will face these creatures on their own. So what do you do, Brother Methuselah?
Well, I suppose that I'm probably going to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in Ultra, Brother Methuselah sort of calls out, what are you doing? Like, stay away. This is my caravan.
You can see that these this creature that's flicker from goat to bear and back to some feline creature, that they are heading towards the mules. You have the you get the distinct feeling that they are hunting, and to get their attention, let's see. So you do have Ultra under Wisdom. I mean, I think it's more like you want their attention and you want them to listen to you. You do speak Ultra, which obviously gives you an advantage. I would say make a charisma check to see if they listen. If the Ultra can listen to you.
Okay. And I'm making that with advantage.
And you make that with advantage. And I'd say, yeah, you roll with a d20 and you want to roll equal or under.
Okay. That is a 15 and a 20. My charisma is 15.
Well, that is barely a success. But it is a success. So you can see that...
Isn't a... Wait. Just a white hack rules clarification since I'm forgetting. Isn't rolling exactly your stat a crit?
It is a crit. It is a crit. Rolling exactly the stat is the best roll that you can make.
So since you get to pick the better of the two.
Yeah, it's definitely... you're absolutely right. You can't get a better effect than this. So it
is confusing. I still sometimes have to.
I know. So you can see them. It's almost as if they ran into an invisible wall. So they stop in their track, and they all turn. They also freeze in their current form, which is, let's say, it's this ugly-looking black mountain goats with these twisted horns, and they turn towards you and look at you, and you hear a voice from all of them talking in unison in this high-pitched, like goatee voice. Oh, it's good to see a brother.
Yeah, and Brother Methuselah, he relaxes back into the pipe that he's sitting on a little bit, and he goes, "It is good to see you too. They do not know about me. I'd prefer if you kept it that way."
We shall keep it that way. We are hungry, though. I'm eyeing the mules, but obviously you need them. I would settle on, provisions.
Yeah. The Brother Methuselah, sort of glances around, and he goes, "If you stay back and you follow the train, I'm sure eventually we will leave more than something behind."
And they say, "Where are you heading?"
From what I've heard, to Fallen Umber.
Be careful. The worst thing that can happen is to lose your memories. The Fallen Umber is a place where memories get lost very quickly.
Thank you.
And then, they turn around and climb back up, and then once in a while looking back. And so when Saffron and Azure finally stumble out of Johnny 7, where do they find Brother Methuselah?
Well, I think he's still... I think he's made his way up to... he's probably trying to get into the controls, too. To tell them that they have to, jettison something to fill up their end of the bargain.
So yeah, I imagine that there's like a hatch that you use as the main means of getting in and outside of Johnny 7. So when you stand before the hatch opens and there are Saffron and Azure.
Yeah.
Brother Methuselah is... We heard that there was some commotion, but
No.
everything all right?
No commotion here. There were beasts on the ridge. I think it would be best if we buried some food behind us and continued on our way. Draw attention away from us.
Ah.
Smart idea. I like the way you think, brother.
Easy. Were they the type of beast that enjoy egg? And I say egg in this this pause. Do they enjoy egg?
So Brother Methuselah, that that Johnny 7 itself produces biomatter, and it's some kind of slug eggs.
Yeah, I think
They're basically tofu.
Yeah. Brother Methuselah goes, "I'm sure that they wouldn't sniff their noses at tofu. They're animals. They eat."
Okay. Yeah. Seems reasonable. We can dump out some biomatter and miscellaneous stuff to distract them. Excellent. I'm glad that this turned out to not be a greater issue.
Cool. And so what do you do, Brother of all of you? Do you do you take the slug eggs and do you leave them behind on the trail? Do you bury them as told to Saffron? What do you do?
I think we don't. I think we, push them off of the trail. But not too far. and then, leave them as the skin changers descend.
Cool. And so we see the caravan moving on, and then in the darkening day, you can see the black goats descending from the hills and ravishing the food that you left behind. After another 2 days of travel, you arrive at a flowery glen in the evening. It does look like a safe place to rest. It is so cold that in the evening you can even see like big snowflakes slowly descending. It's not like a storm or anything, but it is definitely cold at night. And what does like a camp look like? Is it like in the Wild West where you try to make a circle with the transport that you have? I want to say, I don't know. This is Woody. How does a camp in this flowery glen look like?
Well, I guess my first question is, does Johnny have climate control?
Johnny does not have climate control.
Okay.
I think, I mean, in the probably in the mainframe itself, in that one room, it's always a bit colder because of, you don't want the mainframe to overheat.
Right. Okay. Let's see. So how many wagons do we have?
You have one wagon and the porcelain walker.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just have to. I mean, I think we should just put the porcelain walker on front and have Johnny in the back, and just the wagon in the middle to protect all the rations and things like that. I don't really see a way to circle wagons or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's the campfire going. All right. So at every location, you can try to make a discovery, which is free, and you do roll. Let's see. Always forget. Discoveries. Destinations. So there's every time you reach a destination, in this case the south-facing passage, you make a relevant test, which I personally think should be wisdom, unless you ask, I don't know, locals or something, but there's nobody around. So Josh, can you make a wisdom check?
is that everybody or just one of us?
Yeah, it's always just one that rolls for the whole group.
Yes,
mine
I
is
can
8,
make
so
a
I'll pass.
wisdom.
So let's see.
That is a 17, which is very much above my wisdom.
It is above your wisdom. Luckily, I am an idiot. So every time we interact with the UVG random tables, we do it the D&D way, which is you use your modifier, which in your case is -1, I think.
-1.
And that's still, and then you want to roll as high as possible. So in your case, it's a 16, I guess.
Yes, in that case.
Actually, pretty good.
It is actually pretty good. So you get 2 discoveries. Interesting. So I don't know. Obviously, you're looking for clues to the what's it called? The big forgetting. great forgetting, obviously. And you were. So how would you look for these clues to the great forgetting? What do we see on screen? Like, do you climb on a cedar tree? Do we see you like strolling through the hills?
Yeah, I think he's, you know, sort of wandering around the camp, you know, still scribbling together these like arcane equations.
Oh yeah.
As he, you know, tries to define the equations of the world. And I think as he is doing this, he like stumbles upon something in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. So
And
it's,
well, I don't know what sort of like clue.
yeah, so it would be a clue to a discovery. So 2, this one, and the other one is this one. Yeah, what you find. So first of all, you find a. It's you find like a trail of footsteps in the you know in the grass, and there is a bottle which is empty, but it has a what's it called? An etiquette, I guess, and it says the Pew's House Distillery, and it also says Pew's House Distillery, south-facing passage. So you know that the distillery is nearby.
All right, and then I do find another thing.
And while I mean, do you follow the trail?
Yeah, I think so.
And so when you follow the trail, you can see a weird. Let's see. You can see between 2 hills. It looks like you can't see the whole construction, but it's it is a meadow. Actually, really, peaceful and beautiful looking, dotted with peach trees, and there's 2 like small, what is it called? 2 brooks. But you can also see that it's relatively plain, but also tilted. So it's you can't see it from the outside, obviously, because you would have to be further away. But it's a plain and it's tilted. There's these 2 brooks and a couple of peach trees, and that is on the way to when you follow the trail to the distillery. So I'd say when you approach the Pew's house, it looks like a gigantic bone circle, a circle made of probably 2, I don't know, hip bones of a dinosaur or something. It is shaded by dwarf pines, and the building that is within this bone circle is a, well, let's I do assume that sooner or later you will all end up there at the distillery. So, Saffron, what gives away that this building is indeed a distillery? How do we have to picture this? Let's see if I have some clues. Yeah, go on.
Because if this is super old.
Well, the distillery itself.
I think there's kind of. Sorry, breaking up.
Yeah, I lost you for a second. I'm sorry. So
Okay,
the distillery itself is in use. You can see that that people are actually brewing things there. It's like it's also a lively place.
Oh, okay. I then definitely it's like if we can like see into it at all, you can see the like giant metal vats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe the metal vats are even like part of the outside construction.
Yeah,
so that,
yeah, that's a good image.
And you can definitely see people walking around. So I have a question for, I don't know, Abe, are you familiar with satraps and porcelain princes? Does that ring a bell?
No.
So satraps are these creatures of light that are enclosed in like an astronaut suit. They have this big 60s space helmets and colorful spacesuits. And then
Is brother Methuselah one?
Say it again.
Is Brother Methuselah one of these guys?
No, Brother Methuselah looks like a normal human.
Oh, okay. All right. So continue.
And so they are creatures of light. You can see that they are incorporeal, and you can probably see if you see a satrap through the glass helmet that they are made of light.
Right.
And then porcelain princes are these polybodies which they're essentially liches that that spread their consciousness over several bodies. Sometimes, 2 or 3. It can be, up to 20 or even more.
Wow.
And this brewery is like, normally satraps and porcelain princes, they are not necessarily at war, more like there's a rivalry between the two. They fight for like dominance over the eastern part of the ultraviolet grasslands. But something on the building like gives you the impression that this is a house where there is some kind of truce or even friendship between these two groups. Like, what would symbolize that?
I think there's like sigils and banners all throughout the distillery. Like there's one stamped, like sort of stamped into the door, and it's like sort of like a graphic, like an iconographic representation of a satrap and a porcelain princess kind of merged together. So it's like maybe two halves of a quote unquote face, something along those lines.
Cool.
Maybe
so one half is like a mask, and the other is a half of a helmet.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. And so I don't know. I don't want to assume too much, but what would Brother Methuselah do? Would you knock first and see what's up with them, or would you go back to the camp first?
I think he would probably return to the camp. You know, get someone to come with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would we want to see if we had anything to trade with them? That might be a good idea to get some hooch for the road. How about some eggs? Let's see if they'll trade him some eggs for some booze.
So yeah, I so what do you tell them?
Methuselah, you know, shows them the bottle. And he goes, you know, I found a distillery down the path. If we have something to trade, you know, we can get some booze to bring along for the road.
If we take a look in the wagon, what sort of stuff would we have that we could trade aside from eggs?
I mean, you can have a look. It's on the character keeper on trade goods.
Oh, okay.
We have. What do we still have? We sold a bunch of stuff last time.
Yeah, you don't have the Vidi crystals anymore. So if you go to
still
the character,
have
Right.
the Black Lotus.
Well, we have Black Lotus.
There would be a lot of alcohol if we're doing a trade instead of selling it.
Maybe we can commission them to create like if you ingest it, it's healing, right? Is that correct?
say it again.
If you eat it, the Black Lotus, does it heal you? Is that correct?
No, it you get a D4 on charisma.
Yeah.
Per day.
Okay. So we couldn't have them just put into like a drink, sort of, you know.
Funny you say that. On the etiquette of the bottle that Brother Methuselah found, it says Black Lotus Schnapps.
Oh, fancy that.
Perhaps they're looking for more supply.
Yeah, but it's worth a lot of money, though. Do we want to swap them just for some booze? I mean, if we can sell it on the open.
Well, they might have.
If they make Black Lotus schnapps, I'm sure they would need Black Lotus. They might be willing to, you know, buy for a pretty good cost.
All right. Well, let's go talk to him.
All right, cool. And do you, let's see, mechanically, we need to follow the mechanics. So you would rest at this flowery glen. You could theoretically, let's see, do they charge anything? Yeah, you can't really stay at the Pew's house, as far as I can see. No. But so do you leave you all go to the distillery and then leave Vigo as a guard?
Is
how are you feeling about
also here?
Say it again.
Is Nida still with the troop? Just,
all the characters that are not like players that are not there, their characters are in a quantum state of being there, not being there. They're not there.
But I'm just saying, if we all went to the place, it's not like we would leave everything unguarded, right?
No. So you do have Vigo, which is that's the purpose you hired them. You hired him.
Got it. Okay. Sure.
Cool. All right. So let's see. When you approach the distillery, and you see these banners with the symbols of the satraps, and a banner with a porcelain mask, and that is indicative of the princess. You can also see that there are a lot of servants and other people behind the distillery. I don't know, probably like trampling in barrels, trying to make some kind of juice out of. You have the distinctive smell of Black Lotus in your nose when they do that. And when you enter the distillery, I imagine that this is like a place of like wood and brass, probably like dark wood and like brass tubes running through the main room. And there are a couple of tables as well, so they do tastings. Probably it's not a tavern or anything, but you can try their specialties. And there is there's one of these weird satraps, and they turn around, and you can see the light flickering in the helmet, and they say, "Oh, my guests, I'm Satrap 202 Delta, but you can call me Freddy."
Greetings, Freddie. Tell us about your place here.
Well, I always had the dream to make my own schnapps and my own drinks. And well, when I found Pinea's 3-drum, and we got along really nicely, we thought about, let's leave the troubles behind and start this business.
Are you guys successful?
Well, artistically, I want to say we make the best Soma outside of maybe the metropolis.
Hmm. Interesting. What else do you make?
I'm very proud of the Black Lotus schnapps that we make.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny you should mention that. Where do you guys get your Black Lotus from?
Well, Black Lotus is pretty rare, as you know, but if you know the spots, well, I won't tell you any secrets, obviously, but there's some valleys in the mountains.
Interesting. Are they far from here? You don't have to divulge the details. We're not looking to steal them.
Well, it is not easy to get them. Let's put it that way. And you also know that some people love to take Black Lotus, on its own, without fining it.
Huh. Interesting. I see that you guys have a sampling table. Can we try a little?
Of course. Please sit down.
All right. It's out of character. I have totally crap charisma. So, brother, if you want to take over and negotiate with these people, by all means.
Yeah.
So, in general, you can always haggle. So you can always strike trade deals. We're now at a location where we're in a discovery within a location, but let's say we're in a location, and that means you can do certain things. You can always, spend the week there and try to interact with the different locations. So Brother Methuselah found the found the distillery, which you can interact with. You can, for example, try to find out the prices for goods in adjacent locations. You can always try to do market research. You can try to schmooze them, which means you spend the whole week and some money to try to get the best deal possible, or you can just haggle with them one day and strike a deal. You can, I don't know, forage. You can look for more discoveries even, or you could go to the other discovery and interact with it. I don't know, probably pluck the peaches or something. So what do you?
I think we should probably keep it moving. Should we try to haggle with them? Or do you want to schmooze? I mean, we're kind of running out of time, right? There's a clock on Johnny 7 where we reset it by fixing him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're gonna run out of time real quick if we don't get to Fallen Umber.
Yeah, I do like a Blades in the Dark type normal clock, so it's 5 pieces, and it's back to 2 pieces.
Right. So I think we should just haggle and see if we can get a good deal and bail.
Yeah.
We don't want to spend the night here or anything, but we can.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
I am curious if I'm I think you see Saffron eyeing the tasting table of because Saffron is normally kind of skeptical of drugs, but is what does the distillation because I'm I think I maybe just even out loud to Freddie, I'm so you say some people will take unprocessed Black Lotus, and I kind of have this skeptical look on my face of ooh, what benefit is there to distilling something like Black Lotus?
Well, the benefit is not so much in it won't give you superpowers. It won't make you a more by the way, you have you have your plain face.
Yeah.
It won't make you more attractive. It's the most sublime of tastes. You will see. And so from behind 3. It's another question for Josh, I think. So these 3 humans, and they're all wearing these porcelain masks, and they stand beside Freddy, and one of them, puts their arm around them. And how can you see that they are tree huggers? They are proper hippies, although they're wearing these porcelain masks.
Well, I think that they are. I don't think they have any shoes on.
Although it's freezing cold outside. Cool.
Yeah. It's freezing cold out, but I don't think they have any shoes on, and I think that their clothes are obviously, I think they're wearing handmade clothing from something from around the area. It is very, very
yeah, it would be wool or something, probably sheep wool. Yeah, and it's really rough and handmade. Cool. I like the imagery, the juxtaposition between the very fine porcelain masks and these rough goat hides. And so they all speak in the same. They have 3 distinct voices, but they speak at the same time. And they say, "I'm Phineas 3 Drum. It is very good to have guests. please, and one of them serves a bottle of the Black Lotus schnapps, and the other one is like a very thin bottle, and it says, what does it say? It says Soma, I think I read. And Soma, I think it is another word for the. Do you know the word? Have you ever heard SOMR? I think I read something about like it's the
yeah,
juice of oats or something,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yep, I've heard
It's-
of it.
yeah,
It's like an elixir of the gods.
Yeah,
or, like,
exactly.
there was
yeah.
movie-
I've
there was
heard
some
of
movie,
it vaguely.
Soylent Green. In Soylent Green, it was like this drug that they gave everybody that kept them sedated or subdued. And then there's now a drug called Soma, like I don't know, some kind of antidepressant or something.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
But
yeah, I know it's in the Vedas. You know, it's
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
right.
It must be some Hindu thing.
yeah, it's like supposed to be like Amanita's muscaria, like filtered through milk or something.
Wow. Well, that's on the table as well.
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
I think I actually looked at the link before the session, but it's like last week and I forgot half of it. Yeah,
Produces immortality, apparently.
yeah. Well, it's called Soma. I wouldn't take my hopes too high, get my hopes too high, but it is like a golden thick liquid. And so, yeah, and also small like schnapps glasses. And do you try this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Shit, I have a cat in my. I need to kick the cat out. Hold on a second.
Have you played this before, Josh? Or is it your first time?
This is my first time with UVG and with White Hack. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never. This is the first time I played both of them too. I mean, I've played a couple of sessions of this, but it's a fun universe to play in.
Yeah. No, it's good. I'm liking it.
Are all you guys on lockdown too? I'm in Brooklyn, so we're all supposed to be indoors at all times.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've been in the house, around the house for the past couple months at this point. So.
Yeah, same.
I'm in Connecticut, but I'm in the part of Connecticut that's hit pretty bad. So.
Yeah. Sorry to hear it, man.
No, it's fine. You know, definitely, I've had less interaction with it, you know, the whole situation than a lot of people, but.
Yep. Got it. How about you, Chris? Everything good?
Things have been holding steady. We're all still in shelter in place, but it's kind of
Yep.
slowly become the new normal, I guess.
Yeah.
Really? It's weird. I'm not particularly fond of working from home, but I guess this is a good training. Maybe I'll get used to it.
So, yes. So on the table, there's two bottles and a lot of glasses, like two for each of you. So what do you try?
I'll try one of each.
And is it like I don't know, John Wayne downing a whiskey, or is it more like a sommelier or some kind of restaurant critic?
Yeah, well, Azure is very, very stylish, and she's not one to, chug drinks until she pukes. So it's like one of the kind of the, how they pour the wine over their forearm like that. They kind of give that high end service.
I like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It took me a second to
Towel over the arm and all that stuff. So it's like, so she's just kind of, sipping the. She's got one of each, and she's like, she tries. Well, I guess the schnapps is a shot, so she'll knock that one back. But then she's gonna nurse the soma.
Cool.
They're both quite delicious.
And let's see. So I don't know if you have tried the Black Lotus before. I think you haven't.
No.
So it is really delicious. It's my question to you is, there is like a it has some very pleasant taste, let's say it, and then it has a like a strange and interesting aftertaste. And what makes the aftertaste so interesting? So is it tangy, or is it really bitter, or?
No, it starts out sort of like you've just taken a big sip of melted butter, but then it starts to get spicy, like cinnamon. Like, it's not cinnamony, but it's got that kind of spicy, that spicy thing, till it gets to the point where it gets hot.
And what gives it, like, how does the liquid, I think we haven't described it, what gives it like a I don't know, science fiction-y like character?
What gives it a science fiction-y character?
The visuals alone.
Of the actual drink, or are you?
Yeah, of the drink.
It's like thick and viscous white liquid that pours slowly. So it's like, so it is sort of like melted butter, or like syrup in a way.
Cool.
But
and that was
it's like this thick viscous white liquid.
Cool. And that was the Black Lotus schnapps. And then for saffron, you also try both?
Yeah, I think I take like small sips of each.
And why does the Soma deserves the name "the drink of the gods"?
Ooh. I think it kind of has that effect on you when you have some on your tongue, where you're pulled outside yourself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sensation of it, you're like incredibly present, like staring at yourself, feeling this liquid on your tongue.
Nice. So it's like an not an epiphany, but like almost an out of body experience.
Yeah. But that's the taste.
Yeah, that's only the taste. It's not like that you're literally like
It
taking.
tastes like you're doing that.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Yeah, and one of the three Pinea's three drums sits beside you and pours themselves a drink as well. And when they drink, you hear the ah and from all three of them, although just one tasted it. And yeah, you get into you talk to them, and I understood that you want to sell something or strike some kind of trade deal at the spot.
Mhm.
Who's taking the lead?
I think Methuselah was.
Yep.
Yeah. So Brother Methuselah nods and he goes, "We have a shipment of Black Lotus in our cargo. Right here. All you would need is to pay us, and it's yours. You don't need to go to the mountains and scrounge."
Does grow here though? One of the three says. So let's see. So you spent an hour talking, and well, here it says you spent D6 on coffee and tea. That makes no real sense because you're at their place. Maybe you, I don't know, have maybe a like a what's it called? Not a taster, but an example of your trading goods or something that you invest. And then you would roll on a relevant test on the negotiating table. So again, because we're interacting now with the UVG, you want to roll high.
Okay.
So you roll a d20, you add your charisma modifier, which 15 is +1.
All right.
Everything above 12 is good.
Okay. Well, that is a 19 +1.
Wow. Holy shit. A 19 says.
Plus one for charisma. It's a 20, actually.
It's a 20. You've just tripled the price and everybody is happy. So, Jesus, this is an insane amount of money if you sell all the stuff.
I think that's a good idea.
Holy shit, that's so you do have 3 sacks. One sack is 5,000, and you triple the price, which would be 45,000.
Saffron, what do you think? I think it's probably a good idea since our whole deal is trying to make money.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could also say, I know that that Nida was thinking about like keeping at least a bit of the Black Lotus for the effect.
I don't know, man. Money talks. We're in the trade business.
Yeah.
And she's not here.
The marginal benefit of a lot of coin to convincing people to do things versus taking drugs and getting addicted to expensive substances. I know
Yeah.
NIDA has their proclivities.
Do you want to savor one? Oh, you know what? Let's sell them and buy Nida some Black Lotus schnapps and some Soma. We'll just get like a bottle of each. Like, hey, we sold everything, but here.
But we have a gift.
These gifts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the deal. The deal is triple the price. So remove the 3 sacks, add 45,000. I think we can safely say that that Brother Methuselah pays back his debt to the church. And you can
having a good salesman, does a lot.
He's a metropolitan accountant. He knows how to sell.
And you can write down a bottle of Soma and a bottle of Black Lotus Schnapps that's on the house. But if you want to, for example, buy a barrel of each, that's 300 for the Soma and 900 for the Black Lotus, if you want to. You could also, now if you want, I think the idea was to move on. But you could theoretically do market research here and spend a week and find out if the Soma and the or the Black Lotus Schnapps is worth what it's worth in adjacent locations.
I don't know. I think we should.
Yeah, just double check if it's. I think it's a week if you want to get the information about 3 locations, but there's a shorter version. That is, if you just want to spend a day and local expenses, so you would stay a day at the brewery, I guess. You could pick one good and do the research about that good in the next location. Or you could also just say, "Fuck it, we move."
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've turned a good profit. Let's, cut and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same school. Keep it moving.
Cool.
We got to go.
And the last thing I want to mention is, so you do get experience points for discovering the brewery. And you would also get experience points if you visit the other discovery. The Gentle Mile, it's called. So for the Pew's house, you get 100 XP per character. No, you would get 100 XP. I'm sorry, I have to take it back. You would get the 100 XP if you stay for 3 days. But I think you want to move on.
No, I think we should move.
Okay, cool. And the same goes for the Gentle Mile. The Gentle Mile, if you spend a day there, you would also get 100 XP. But obviously you don't have to. All right, so our heroes return to the camp, pack their bags, and move on. One other thing, I think last time we removed the provisions for the travel between the Grass Colossus and the south-facing passage. But you still have 10 provisions. That seems odd.
So we had said that at least Azure and Saffron were living off the slug eggs.
That's true. That's true.
But we would still need provisions for Vigo and
Nida.
And whoever, in this case,
right.
Brother Methuselah in previous session, Nida, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. For Nida for last session. And let's see. It was 1 week of travel, I think. So that's no, it's actually 2 weeks travel to the south-facing passage. So that would be 4 sacks. Caravan.
Can
I
we
don't know.
keep the eggs? Me and Saffron.
Yes, you can. You can. We do make a constitution check at one stage to see if the biomechanically produced slug eggs have some kind of negative effect.
Sweet.
For travel, like if we're not with Johnny 7, maybe it makes more sense for us to use actual rations.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because otherwise it's like you're taking some biomechanical slug eggs and stuffing them in your bag, which is maybe not the most pleasant experience. But
yeah, sounds good.
So that would take. So you had 10 supplies. Let's see. So the walker. The walker is 2 provisions. The walker runs on biomass. And it's 2 for Nida and 2 for Vigo. And then if you both use, well, actually, not for Brother Methuselah, because he joined, at the end of the journey. So it's 4 plus 4 for the 2 of those. So it's you have 2 provisions left. Which would make it reasonable to probably buy provisions at the Pew's house.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
a little more trading with them for restocking.
And you still have to. We do have to. I don't know. I'd love to have you do the whole. Because you are traveling with a caravan, so some of you, maybe even Brother Methuselah, because he's an accountant, should do the accounting of the goods. You have 12 spots on the wagon, and you have 4 spots on the porcelain walker. And the goods that you have is, or the spots taken is, the people are traveling unless they are walking, or traveling with Johnny 7, I guess. And you have 3 sacks of goods at the moment. And then, so how many provisions do you buy?
How many provisions would it take to get us to the Black City?
To the Black City?
Is it really far?
It is really far. Look at the map. The map just goes until the moon-facing fort, and then it's like 20 more stops or something.
Oh, okay. All right. So do you want to get enough to get us to Fallen Umber?
We might want, if we have space, we might want enough to get to the next point that we could trade at again.
Yeah.
But
so how many spots do you have? You have 10, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, 11, because the machine parts are probably on Johnny 7 itself.
I mean, it is entirely possible that as we get further and further along, we're going to have to be more reliant on gathering and foraging and hunting and stuff. But so there may be limits to how much we can prep ahead. But
yeah, I think let's get enough to fill up right now, and then we will, eat as we go to free up space for trade goods. So
Okay.
So I guess, let's see, provisions, is it 10? Was it 5?
uh,
I forgot.
10 or 5. What? Oh, per
Per sec, isn't
cost.
it? I would have
Is base provisions actually in our items sheet or no?
think so.
uh,
We have things that include food in here, but I don't know if we have a price on them.
Shall we take like I don't know, we're playing for 1.5 hours. Shall we take like a 10 minutes break?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm looking for how much provisions actually are.
Yeah, and then we can do the math and figure out exactly how much we want to.
Awesome.
Trade
See you
for.
at 22 past the hour.
Cool. Sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Hey, man. I'm back.
Cool.
Thanks. This has been a really great game. I've been really enjoying it.
Well, this will go on for some time. As I said, I think I will run, I don't know, 3 sessions per month. And I guess this will take us to autumn of 2020 until we reach the Black City finally.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I will put 3 more sessions on the calendar. I don't know, maybe in the course of the week. But I will, give you a head start.
No, great. Thanks. Is everybody from the old list back next week, or did one guy drop out so I can jump in still?
I think Puckett is back and Will is no. I think you're in, aren't you?
Yeah, I think Will dropped out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So he will be back for the last session.
Okay, cool.
All right. So I checked. A sack of good provisions is 10 cash, and the bad quality stuff is 2. But I mean, you're rich, obviously.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get the good stuff.
Yeah, let's splurge. Okay. Oh no. I have to use this caravan tracker, but
I just started backing. What's this guy's name? Luke Reykjavik or something like that?
Luca Reyes.
Yeah, so I just started backing his Patreon.
Yeah.
Like they have one that's like mad expensive, but it's sold out. So I got the tier before that, and I downloaded a couple of new things. One's a scenario for UVG, and then there's like this kind of interesting sub game that he's come up with where it's like animal researchers or something in the
Yeah, the Zoa guide or something. Yeah, that is fun. And also the Repo Head, which is like a mini dungeon for UVG, which is obviously inspired by Zardos, if you know the movie. Cool. So
everything should be by Zardos.
That's true. Maybe not fashion. Not sure if
It's funny.
the
When I was a little kid, my mom was a big Sean Connery fan, and so she took us to go see. She didn't know anything about it. She took us to go see Zardoz in a drive-in movie, and then it started with Fantastic Planet. It was like one of the weirdest experiences when I was a little kid.
It still is. I mean, you can watch it as an adult, and it still is a weird experience.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I do hope that the how do you call that the kind of gear that he wears? So the thong.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what though? There's another name for it. Oh, well, they have a thing called the slingshot bikini. I think it's kind of like that.
It's pretty. Yeah, that is spot on. It's spot on description. Anyways, so yeah, 10 cash per provisions, and you have space for I think 10 or something. Let's see. Caravan. So you have space for 12. You have space for 10 on the coach, and then theoretically you have 1 space left on the walker.
Can Johnny haul stuff, or is he all full of machinery?
I mean, you could, yeah. Obviously, you could probably stuff as much as you want, cram into Johnny, but then Johnny won't accompany you the whole way, so that
Oh, okay.
you would
Oh, right.
waste
'Cause I'll run
visions.
out of steam. Well, we need Johnny, so for this whole
Yeah.
quest.
Well,
So
let's. So then let's spend the 120 gold out of our quite a bit of gold cash.
Yeah,
Do we? So we made 45,000 off of all the Black Lotus.
you did.
All right. So then, where do we track that?
Yeah, well, we haven't really talked about it, but obviously the church owns the money that you trade, but you get a cut at the end.
Hmm.
I would.
So I had
can we just steal?
taken the sell price and added it to the caravan cash, but we can adjust that.
I
As
think that's the
we
right.
see.
Yeah, and obviously you can, you have an accountant monk, so you can cook the books as much as you like.
Oh yeah, that was very handy.
Yeah. So we have 12 slots. So let's spend the 120. Get.
Yeah. Okay, and I put it on the caravan sheet, or you can do it instead of. So you have 14 supplies. Is that right?
Yes.
Because you had 2 supplies left.
Yeah.
And then we can just assume that the 2 sacks that won't fit on the stuff can get into Johnny 7.
Yeah. Throw it in Johnny 7 or latch it on somewhere.
In theory, you can you can carry one.
We'll go through enough in the time before we say goodbye to Johnny 7 that
Exactly.
it'll be fine.
Cool. All right. So you move on. You buy the provisions. You get back to the camp, and next day you move on. You leave the mountains, the high step, soon afterwards, and you enter the Umberlands. And the further you go down from the mountains, the hotter it obviously gets. And you can see before you like a dull, incredibly plain landscape, which is cut through by dry canals. You can see abandoned farms along the way. So this has to be some kind, had been in the before time, the long ago, had been farmland, but it has dried out. The smell that comes off the dry earth is very fungal. I don't know if that is a word. So it's mushroomy, let's say. And while you travel through the lands, one player always makes to see what kind of misfortune the caravan befalls. It is normally a charisma test, and I would say the new player, which is Josh, which is the best charisma, I think.
Yeah.
Makes a check, and this check is again like a D&D check, which means you add your modifier, which is +1 to a D20, and you want to roll high.
All right. That is 11.
And an 11 is this land dead or just resting? Does it matter? It stays silent, which is the verbose way to say nothing happens, no misfortune. and then another player rolls on the encounter table, which I think, let's go with the character keeper, is Chris. Can you roll a d8?
Sure. Okay. 8.
You rolled an 8? Oh no.
No, 1 second. Still rolling. That is a 2.
Oh wow, interesting. So so while you're traveling through this, it is also that the trail that caravans before you moved on the same track, let's say, so that the hooves and feet grinded the earth down to the bedrock. So you're always a little bit lower than the rest of the landscape. You can also see that there are like old buttresses that extend from these dry canals. And one day you can see which looks like warriors in chitinous armor, but these warriors they move very slowly, so you can easily avoid them, and they look like confused and lost. So they move. They don't move with a purpose. They move slowly, almost like zombies or something, and they stumble over the dry lands. Do you just pass them by, or do you interact with them in any way? They have this chitinous armor, which I imagine, I don't know, it's obviously like insectoid in some way, maybe even shaped in like beetle. Well, actually, I'll ask you, Josh, is it more like a beetle chitinous armor, or is it more aggressive like hornets, or I don't know?
I think it is pretty beetly. Yeah, it's sort of smooth and glossy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a ladybug.
Cool. So do you just pass them by, or do you interact with them in any meaningful way?
I think if they don't seem to care about us passing, I'm happy to continue, rolling on.
Same here.
Okay, I just read the chat.
We were just having some side discussion on how much
Okay.
money we actually end up with, and I think the trade goods tab had the total value of our whole lot of it, which was 5,000, but then we sold it for 3 times the price.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay, that makes sense.
So
Yeah, it's one sec is 5,000. You sold, but you sold it for 15,000 per sec, and then you had 3 secs.
oh no, okay, so then it is.
So then okay. So
Okay.
then it is. We had 3 sacks sold for 15,000 each.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let me do some math. 8 minus 100 plus 1,000 plus 45,000. Yes. Okay. That is a lot more money. Okay. Then we are good.
All right.
Okay.
All right, and so after a week of travel, you subtract the provisions, which is 3 for you, 1 for Vigo, and 1 for the walker. So 5. Yes. And you find a resting place in an abandoned plantation. It does. Well, you're an ultra, brother Methuselah, and you know that ghosts, not even ghosts, bother this plantation or the land around it, but there is some kind of like a melancholy, autumny, empty, desolate feeling around this plantation, and it nags. It's just it seems to I don't know, like slowly erode your personality, which is true for the whole land. It's not this specific plantation where you're at now. And so how? Yeah, say it again.
All of the Umber bums you out?
Yes, all of the Umberlands give that. It's like a feeling of losing something, of like some kind of emptiness, and it affects your memories in a subtle way. And so here it says a moderate test, which I think if we translate it to Y-Tech would probably be with advanced. Well, let's say +2. I think is moderate. So what we have to do is to resist the effect of memory loss. You would have to roll. I guess its aura is wisdom. So roll wisdom. You can either add 2 to your wisdom and then try to roll equal or under, or you can subtract 2 from the roll. It doesn't really matter. And all of you have to do it to resist the loss of memory.
I'm sorry, what are we rolling? D20, 2d6?
Yeah, you're rolling a d20, and you want to roll equal or under your wisdom, but you can add 2 to your wisdom score.
All right.
For this roll.
No, that is above my wisdom.
Okay.
I rolled almost bad, but given that we got +2, I'm safe.
That's why it's a moderate test. And 8? Maybe you're muted.
Sorry,
Oh.
big fail.
A big fail. Okay. Let's start with Brother Methuselah, because he's the oldest character. I mean, how old are you? Have you been around in the long, like there's long ago and there's the long ago?
I think that I think he is a long ago kind of ghost.
Okay, so the civilization that built all these weird machines had already gone, and a new civilization had established itself. Tell me about a cherished childhood memory, something from your childhood that always warmed your heart.
Brother Methuselah remembers when he was in his first body, and he did not yet, he had not been schooled yet. He did not have the burden of, so many years of esoteric knowledge, and he, just sat on the grass of his home and had nothing to prove.
And what is it like? Is it the sun warming your face, or is it like the peaceful surrounding? What makes this moment so special?
It's just how free and peaceful and comfortable and warm he felt in that moment.
And that memory slips from your brain forever. And Azur, what is a cherished childhood memory?
Let's see. How long has the UVG been around? Like, is it like hundreds of years, thousands of years?
I would say probably 10,000s of years. We're talking about Hindu level of big cycles.
Right. Okay. So let's see. I'll let you pick.
But I mean, your character is not an ultra. You're a human being, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I'm just a regular old human or something.
Yeah, and you're like, judging from your picture, you're not that old. Like maybe mid-20 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So basically, I'll let you pick because I'm not familiar with the bestiary of this world yet. But I had a pet that was unusual because usually people were freaked out by it. But I saved one when it was a puppy or whatever, and we bonded, and so I spent my childhood with this animal, and it was my best friend.
Yeah, I think it was a floating jelly, like floating on a piece of string.
Nice.
Which is one of the pets that you can theoretically get.
Okay.
And yeah, maybe it's so the cherished memory is getting the animal, or
yeah, when I saved it, when I first saved it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so maybe it was like hanging in a tree or something, and you climbed up and freed it from being entangled with the tree. Cool. And again, that memory is lost forever. Maybe you even forget the name of that and the memory of the floating jelly. All right. Now, you are at the in the Umberlands, and you do know Johnny Seven told you that the positronic library is in the Hall of the Umber King. So that is the place that you know the location of. You could theoretically go there like directly, or you could search the Umberlands for more discoveries. But I will also add another tick on the clock.
I think as we kind of pull more into the Umberlands, and we're kind of getting down and in, is when Saffron would kind of have another deep conversation with Johnny Seven. Partially it's like, hey, we're here, how, like, are our plans still the same? How are you feeling? How are you holding up?
Yeah, I think that the lands are pressing on Johnny Seven even worse than you guys. And he says, it's just, you have a purpose. I don't know what your purpose is. I don't know what your makers thought of your purpose or what you think of your purpose. But I have a purpose and I cannot fulfill it. It's like running in circles and achieving nothing. I'm not doing well.
Well, I would, at the very least, like to help you achieve your purpose, even if just for a little bit. And so now that we're here, I will try to find this positronic library, see what we can bring back.
I would be really grateful if you could bring some blueprint, something that is not tainted or corrupted.
I'll see what I can do. Okay, so yeah, it sounds like we don't have a ton of time on Johnny. So Saffron would push for, let's prioritize finding this library, and then afterwards we can mess around and explore more if we feel like it.
Totally.
Okay.
Awesome. So you probably can see from afar, from the plantation itself, these ruins. Like it's an, I imagine it to be like similar maybe to ruins in Greece. So it's crumbling archways and overgrown colossi, overgrown by these strange chitinous fungi. So it like, I'm not sure how to picture them, but they are fungi, and they obviously have their surface has a chitinous quality to them. And there are actually quite some people around, like walking around these ruins, and from the clothes you would assume that some of them are probably upper class rainbow landers, maybe even aristocrats. They are archaeologists trying to transcribe, whatever language that is written in. And you do find a couple of stairways that lead under the earth. But they're also, at the entrance of these stairwells, there are warning signs in 7 languages. And the warning signs warn about not to enter the underground. I mean, I think Brother Methuselah has an idea about what kind of danger lurks there. At least if you remember what the Ultra told you.
Yes. I do. I was told. What was I told? I was told to,
that you could lose your personality in the
Yeah.
in the ruins of the Umber King,
Yeah.
which is the worst that could happen to, like, nothing can affect you more or less. If your body dies, you just transfer your spirit to another body. But if you lose your personality, that's obviously an existential crisis.
Yeah. I think Brother Methuselah is he probably will not say anything before heading in, but it is certainly weighing on him as he follows with the group.
Awesome. And so underground, you descend a flight of stairs pretty deep underground, and there's no other people around. And you enter at the bottom of the stairs. It looks like a neon tunnel. So it's a tunnel that has these multicolored neon lights that still are running from some kind of a power source. And I assume that you go through the tunnel, and you can also see that there's again mushrooms growing on the tunnel walls on these neon lights, partially obscuring them. And you can see spores in the air, like floating in the air, mushroom spores.
Probably best to try to avoid inhaling random mushroom spores, considering, like, looking around. I have no idea what these fungus are.
So how do you... Oh, go on.
Maybe, cover our mouths with rags or something. Like tie a cloth around our faces.
Yeah, I think Saffron is like... Saffron says best not to inhale, but is like pulling like hood up over their head, because it's like, I don't think Saffron like breathes, like doesn't respirate in the same way, but is like, I don't want fungus growing inside me.
Yeah.
In a similar concern, just different mechanism.
And Zudi, when you have your...
Does my plastic mask provide me any protection?
I think so. I do think that it provides direct protection from these spores. You just have to make sure that they don't slip under your mask, obviously, or under the shield.
Right.
Prevent slipping under the shield. Okay. So, Brother Methuselah, how does a smell ghost manifest for you? I don't think that the others can see it.
How does a what manifest?
Well, I'm reading from the book. It is a smell ghost, or several actually, smell ghosts of a golden age. And the only other indication that I have is sweet.
I see. I think there is I think there's like an old table in the hall, and I think that as Brother Methuselah passes, he gets a whiff of just like luxurious food from a time long past, and he can just sort of vaguely make out the shapes of these, plates and dishes like leaving their imprint on the fabric of the world.
And you also know that the pale memory of this luxurious food is what is left of a sentient being that spent too much time in these halls. And I would like to let's see. Well, you're protected from the spores, and you arrive in a round room. The room has like a closed door on the left side. There's a tunnel that goes further in, but you can also see that like maybe 15 feet, another like neon tunnel. Another 15 feet in, there's like a laser barrier or something, like you maybe know from Mission Impossible or something. It's this laser grid. And let's see. And there's another neon tunnel. So there's from the circular room, there's this door and two more tunnels going deeper in, and one of them is barred with some kind of laser grid, I would say. What do you do?
We know what a laser grid is?
Well,
Or just ominous?
Yeah, I think that you can see that it is. You could interpret it even as like what's it called? Like you could interpret that as a how do you call these metal barriers that you know that open and close?
Portcullis?
Portcullis, yes. Never know how to pronounce it.
But made out of like red light beams.
Exactly. It could be red light. It could be painted on and glowing or something. But that's how you could interpret it. Or you could also imagine that it's a laser grid.
There's enough dust down here that it catches some of the beams.
Exactly.
Maybe
cuts through it.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem like anything has been here in a long time. I like gesture at the laser portcullis, and I'm like, that's ominous enough to seem important, but also ominous. And I look around if there's like any inscriptions or anything that might give us a idea of what the different directions are.
Yeah, so you see an inscription above the door, which indicates that this is a lift to the back to the upper to the surface level. Over the tunnel, the neon tunnel with the laser grid, it says positronic library, and the other tunnel has an inscription that says robot. Well, it says construct assembly.
Well, positronic library first, and then maybe check out the robots.
It was the path that I'd kind of hoped we wouldn't have to deal with, but yeah.
So when you enter the tunnel, again, as I said, after maybe 15 feet, there is this red glowing portcullis. What cool is?
Yeah. Red glowing portcullis of laser light. Joyful. Now what do we do?
Well, I feel like I feel like if there's no way for us to get through to the positronic library, maybe we go deeper and see if we can't circle back around.
Another connection that will also go there. Possible.
Is there?
Yeah. Good.
How about looking for a power source and see if we can cut the power?
Not bad, not bad. I think I, at this point, look down at the ground if there's like any stones or like loose tiles from the tunnel or anything.
Well, you can see that the on the floor there's just dust, and the floor itself is yeah, I want to say it's probably a stone floor indeed, but more like concrete, like it's really and smooth.
So it's in really good shape despite being really old.
Yeah, the floor is in really good shape. The walls, like you see that the fungi have definitely they seem to feed on the light of these neon of the neon lights, and some of the neon lights are broken, and you could imagine that if there's a power line, it would probably be behind it somewhere. So you could theoretically dig through to the walls or the ceiling. The floor seems really massive.
Okay.
And really solid.
I guess I'm looking for something I could take and throw at the grid.
Oh, okay. I think that
I could just grab some fungus and throw some fungus at the.
You could throw the
laser
fungi, or you could. I think that there are shards of the neon tubes,
like some stuff that has fallen off the wall.
Yeah, and so when you throw it, it disintegrates completely. There's this like a sizzling sound, but there's not an atom that you can see that passes through the grid.
It's not good.
That's what I expected, but also I kind of, yeah.
So the direct approach will not work. Shall we take that, see if we can do the end around like the good brother suggested?
Yes, let's go through the tunnel.
Okay, when you pass through the tunnel to the south, you enter a which looks like a golem. Like obviously, Brother Methuselah is a golem programmer of some sorts, maybe amateurish, I don't know. But you have the tools in any case, and so can you? So there's definitely a table with 3 different colored punch cards, and there are 3 stone golems hanging from the ceiling on some kind of what's it called? Some kind of contraption, and they do have like a slit in their forehead that would fit a punch card. And the punch cards have different symbols on them, and the golems also look different. Like one of them has some kind of a built-in disintegrator ray, I would say. One of them has some kind of like a container. Container that has in his chest that is opened, and the third one has like 3 arms and a drill and some other tools attached to them. And there's also another tunnel to the where you could imagine circumventing the laser barrier.
Well, why don't we crib these? Why don't we crib these punch cards? Take them up to see if Johnny can use them.
Not the worst idea. We might. I mean, we might as well grab what we can. Worst. If we need to pull a Hail Mary, we could try to activate the giant one, and I'm like pointing up at the ceiling. The giant one with the really big drill, and punch our way through the wall into the library.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Downside is I don't want this entire place to collapse on us.
That'll be fine.
But we can grab these for now and see where that tunnel goes.
So
Well, I think these cards control these golem things. Like these are their probably
Seems
their
plausible.
Got the split in the head. It sounds to me like it's just a controller thing. So maybe just taking them over to Johnny isn't going to help. Maybe
We might as well hold on to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to fire up the drill drill golem?
I'm hesitant to turn on anything down here if we can avoid it.
I think if we need one of them on, we can come back for them.
We don't know what their programming is.
So when you pick up the punch cards, they have 3 like distinctive symbols on them. One has a gear symbol, one has a sword symbol, and one has a punch card symbol.
A gear or a deer?
Gear, like a cork or something.
Okay.
Well, don't use the sword one. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we should keep delving.
Let's do it. Let's keep moving.
Okay,
Oh.
so
But can I do my roll for vial parts?
can you? Oh, definitely. Yeah, this is a location.
Yep. Well, I can wait till a more appropriate place, I guess. Like if this is just
Well, it can also change what's behind, like after the tunnel or something. So this is a good
what
moment.
do I roll?
I think you have a 20% chance. Let's see.
No, it's D100.
I think it's written.
Yeah, you're right. So is that 2 D10s?
Yes.
$13.
No fucking way. Incredible. So you do get 500 XP. You can already write it down. And let's see. Well, anyways, you take the other tunnel. And it's again like a neon tunnel. You have the feeling that the mushroom growth gets lessened, or is lesser than in the entrance area. And you come upon a room, and I ask you, Azurdi. So. It's a room that has that's obviously some kind of museum part of the library, and you do see I would say an part of an altar, maybe, of the vial. How does the altar look like? So there are different other religious artifacts from different religions, but there's this altarpiece from the vial.
It's sort of in the style of my clothing, in that it's like very smooth. It's all like clear, like glass or lucite. It's draped in what looks like a plastic sheet, you know, and it's fairly ornate, but it's all like geometric, like it was done in Adobe Illustrator. It's very precise. It's crafted it all. It's totally computer graphic style. But instead of having like 4 legs, it's just got a big post, like a big slab in the middle of it, and then you can see through it, and there's something in there, I'm guessing.
Yes, you're guessing correctly, and it is another of these. I think the last time you found like a glass urn or something with
I think so.
Yeah, so this time it is a glass urn, and inside floats what you would assume is a liver.
Is a what?
A liver, like the inner organ that
Nice.
cleans the blood, I think.
Yep.
And from that museum part leads another neon tunnel to the library itself. And the library itself has this row of what's it called? Where you like cabinets, I would say, filing cabinets. Yes, filing cabinets with like myriads of drawers, small squarey drawers. And when you open them, you find always like stacks. I don't know, a feet or maybe 2-3 feet long stacks of punch cards. But to your disappointment, most of them are moldy because they're actually made from like some kind of cardboard or something. So most of them are moldy and rotten. But you do find 3 of the drawers in one of the cabinets in the back of the room that is actually in a good condition. And one of them, well, let's see. Chris, what does the first one produce? I want to say it's furniture.
Okay. Furniture. Interesting piece of furniture. This feels like a very difficult category of things.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's difficult in maybe a good way of like,
okay.
It's challenging. I need to think for a second.
But a Herman Miller Aeron style chair.
It's like perfectly mid-century modern. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can go with that.
Cool, so like a classic designer chair.
Yeah.
Very, is it like a very straight one?
I think, no, it's like the ones that have like the shape-formed wood, where you have to use the special like wood bending machine to reshape the whole pieces of wood and over the like metal bars or something.
Awesome, cool. And the second one, let's see, is some kind of kitchen tool, I would say. Azure D, what kind of kitchen tool can you produce with that?
Say a kitchen tool.
Yeah, it could be as big as a refrigerator or as small as a pan or like a spoons.
Right. How about an autosonic food prep wand?
Okay, this is like a what are they called? Like a mixer, I guess.
Well, I was thinking more like a handheld microwave.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
But
cool.
it's like a wand, sort of.
Yeah, you just
very
pointed. You pointed at the
Yes.
soup, and the soup heats up. Nice. And then the last rack. Well, I just leave it to you, Josh. What does the last punch cards produce?
I think that the last punch card produces I think it produces a floor lamp,
Okay, cool.
like a tall floor lamp with some like branching off bulbs, which are not really connected to anything anymore. But
Okay, we have a floor lamp, a portable microwave wand, and we have a mid-20th century design chair. Okay, when you return to Journey 7, it tells you, I only have 2 magnetic tapes though. We need to translate these punch cards into tapes. Which 2 of the 3 shall I make?
I think the microwave will come in handy when we're on the road.
It's the only thing that's actually at all useful. So maybe we're like, okay, well, make this food prep wand thing sounds interesting, and I think Saffron then says, of the others, which do you want to make, Johnny 7? What would make you feel good?
I mean, making them will take me back to when I was whole. But I think, and you see the lights flashing in the control room. I think this designer chair is just beautiful.
All right, then.
And so we end the session with you inserting the punch cards into like a sorting machine. It's on the production floor, and there's like one of the walls is this. It's like a wall of theoretically turning and spinning magnetic tapes that moves in this jerky motion. And then there's the punch card sorting machine before it, but the magnetic tape spools or whatever they're called, they're all empty except 2 of them. And So when you insert the punch cards into the sorting machine, it sorts the punch cards concerning according to the program, and then information is transferred to these magnetic tapes, and soon afterwards you see the how did we describe it, like nanobots moving between the in the assembly unit on the production floor. And we've also described the production floor to be semi like almost meaty. It has the skinny flaps, and so when the first object is produced, it is still covered in some kind of, it almost looks like saliva or goo, but when you clean it, underneath it, it's just this perfect designer chair. And you can see the whole of Johnny 7 vibrating and almost radiating happiness. And with that, we close the session.